The sun had just set over the small town of Akume when little Ochanya returned from the stream, carrying a clay pot half her size. She was only 8, thin as a broomstick, but her eyes were bright, the kind that could melt even a hardened heart. Her aunt, Mama Felicia, shouted from the kitchen, "Ochanya, drop that pot and start washing the plate before your uncle comes, oh." Ochanya obeyed quickly. Life in that house was a daily race to please everyone. Her parents had sent her there so she could attend school. They believed her uncle, Mr. Ogbanje, a respected teacher, would take good care of her, but they were wrong. That night, after everyone had eaten, the house grew quiet. Ochanya sat on her mat, staring at the shadow on the wall. Suddenly, she heard her uncle's voice from the corridor. "Ochanya," he called softly. Her heart jumped. She didn't answer. She wished she could disappear into the floor. He called again, firmer this time. "Come here." Mama Felicia's door creaked open slightly, but she said nothing. Her eyes met Ochanya's for a moment, cold, empty, warning her to obey. Ochanya stood up slowly and walked towards the dark corridor. Her little hands trembled. The night outside was silent, except for her cries. When she returned to the mat much later, she didn't cry. She just stared at the roof, her eyes dry, her body shaking. From that night, she stopped laughing the way she used to. Days turned into weeks. Mr. Ogbanje smiled in public and called her his little scholar. But at night, the same footsteps echoed over and over again. Mama Felicia looked away every time. One morning, Ochanya went to the stream and sat on a rock for hours. "Mama, when are you coming to take me home?" Days rolled into months, and the little house by the red road grew darker for Ochanya. She stopped talking much. Her laughter, once loud enough to fill the compound, was gone like smoke after rain. At school, her teacher often asked, "Ochanya, are you alright?" She would nod quickly, forcing a smile. She feared if she spoke, her aunt would find out and punish her. Every evening, she washed plates, fetched water, and swept the yard. Her aunt, Mama Felicia, watched with hard eyes. "Be grateful we took you in," she would say, sipping her evening tea. Ungrateful children end up on the street. But Ochanya knew her aunt's silence was her worst punishment. The woman had become a wall, hearing nothing, seeing nothing. One night, heavy rain fell. Thunder cracked across the sky, and the power went out. Ochanya lay on her mat, praying quietly for morning to come fast. But before the thunder died, she heard the footsteps again. "Ochanya," her uncle's voice called from the dark. Her heart pounded. She turned to her aunt's room and whispered, "Mama Felicia." But the door stayed shut. She walked to school limping. Her friend Norma, a tall girl with kind eyes, noticed the marks on Ochanya's legs. "Who did that to you?" she asked. Ochanya looked away. "I fell," she lied. That afternoon, she didn't go home straight. She sat under the old mango tree behind the school, hugging her knees and crying quietly. No one would believe her even if she spoke. When she finally returned home, her aunt stood waiting with a stick. "Where have you been?" she shouted. "I stayed to clean the classroom," Ochanya stammered. The stick landed on her back before she could finish. She didn't cry. She had learned not to. That night, she lay awake again. Her body sore, her heart heavy. She stared at the leaking roof and whispered, "God, if you can hear me, please don't let tomorrow come." Outside, the rain had stopped, but her tears didn't. The market day came with bright sunshine and noisy drums. Women sold tomatoes and yams. Men argued over prices. And children chased one another through the dust. Ochanya walked slowly beside Mama Felicia, carrying a basket too heavy for her small hands. She whizzed with every step, but her aunt didn't notice. At one stall, a young woman named Auntie Conde, who sold roasted groundnuts, called out, "Ah, small Ochanya, you've grown thin, oh. Are they not feeding you well?" Mama Felicia's face hardened. She eats plenty. She snapped before Ochanya could speak. But Auntie Conde wasn't fooled. She saw the sadness in Ochanya's eyes, the stiffness in her walk. After they left, she whispered to another trader, "That child is suffering, oh. Something is wrong." That night, when the house was quiet again, Ochanya stared at the window. The moon was bright, and for a moment, she wished she could fly away through it, far from the pain, far from the footsteps that haunted her sleep. Suddenly, she heard her name again, Ochanya. Her breath caught. She pressed her hands against her ears and whispered, "No, please, not again." When it was over, she lay still, her eyes open, but seeing nothing. Her small body trembled. Somewhere inside her, a part of her soul had begun to die. Days later, at school, Auntie Conde came to visit her cousin, the teacher. When she saw Ochanya sweeping the classroom, she pulled her aside. "Ochanya, tell me the truth," she said gently. "Why do you always look so sad?" Tears filled the girl's eyes, but no words came out. She shook her head and whispered, "If I talk, my aunt will send me away." Conde bent down, touched her shoulder, and said, "No one will ever hurt you. You hear me? You are not alone." Those words sank deep into Ochanya's heart. That night, when the darkness came again, she clung to them like a fragile rope in a storm. Still, she couldn't escape. Her aunt turned away, pretending not to hear the muffled sob from the next room. As the moonlight fell over Ochanya's face, pale, tired, and far too old for a child of 8. Somewhere in the distance, Auntie Conde prayed that the truth would come out. But truth in Akume was a dangerous thing. By the time the harmattan winds came, Ochanya had become a shadow of herself. Her skin looked pale, her eyes dull, and her school uniform hung loosely on her thin frame. One morning, as she bent to tie her sandals, she felt a sharp pain in her stomach. She gasped, holding her side, but said nothing. She had learned that complaining only brought more trouble. At school, her teacher, Madam Uju, called her aside. "Ochanya, what is wrong? You don't play anymore." Ochanya shook her head weakly. "I'm fine, ma." But Madam Uju wasn't convinced. That evening, she sent Norma to walk home with her. The two girls held hands as they crossed the dusty road. When they reached the gate, Ochanya whispered, "Don't tell anyone you came, oh. My aunt doesn't like visitors." The gate creaked open, and Mama Felicia's sharp voice cut through the air. "What are you still doing here, Norma? Go home before your mother starts searching for you." Norma ran off, frightened. As the gate closed, Ochanya's heart sank again. That night, when her uncle entered the room, she tried to scream, but her voice broke into silence. He left her shivering and breathless, her face wet with tears she couldn't stop. Hours later, Mama Felicia came in, carrying a lantern. She looked at Ochanya, saw the blood on the mat. "Don't make noise," she said coldly. "You wake the neighbors." The next morning, Ochanya couldn't walk properly. She dragged herself to the kitchen, trying to act normal. But when she stood near the fire, she suddenly collapsed. Mama Felicia rushed forward, not with pity, but with fear. "Get up, Ochanya! Don't bring shame to this house." But the little girl couldn't move. Later that day, Madam Uju heard the news at school. Ochanya fainted. She dropped the chalk from her hand. "What?" she gasped. That evening, she went to the house, but Mama Felicia refused to open the door. "She's fine, just malaria," she said. Madam Uju left, but her heart felt heavy. Something wasn't right. Inside the dark room, Ochanya lay on her mat, whispering weakly, "God, please make this stop." And outside, the harmattan wind howled through the trees, carrying a fragile prayer into the night. When dawn broke, Ochanya could no longer stand. Her breath came in short gasps. Her body burned with fever. Mama Felicia, frightened now, wrapped her in an old wrapper and took her to the town clinic. The nurse at the front desk frowned when she saw them. "What happened to this child?" she asked. "She has been sick for some days, oh," Mama Felicia replied quickly, avoiding her eyes. The nurse bent down to check Ochanya's pulse. The little girl flinched when the nurse touched her. "You are safe here, my child." The nurse noticed the bruises, the trembling hands, and the fearful eyes. She looked at Mama Felicia again, suspicious now. "You should see the doctor," she said immediately. When the doctor came, he asked questions Mama Felicia couldn't answer. How long has she been like this? What caused the internal injuries? Mama Felicia stammered. "Maybe she fell at home." The doctor's eyes narrowed. "This doesn't look like a fall." After they left the hospital that day, word began to spread quickly through town. Some said the child had been harmed. Others whispered about strange things happening in Ogene's house. At school, Madam Uju asked Norma, "Have you seen Ochanya?" "No, ma. Her aunt said she's sick." The girl replied, her voice low. That evening, Madam Uju went to the house again. She met Auntie Conde outside and said, "We must find out the truth. Something terrible is happening to that child." Auntie Conde nodded. But who will speak? People here fear men like Ogene. As they talked, the door opened and Mr. Ogene himself stepped out, smiling politely. "Ah, teachers, good evening, oh," he said calmly. "No need to worry about Ochanya. She's fine." His voice was smooth, confident, the voice of a man who knew no one would question him. But behind that smile, darkness lingered. That night, as the house slept, Ochanya dreamed that she was running through the forest, barefoot, calling for her mother. But every time she thought she saw her, the figure faded away. She woke with a cry, a weak broken sound, and tears filled her eyes. And though she was still breathing, something deep inside her had already begun to die. Weeks passed, and Ochanya didn't return to school. Her seat at the back of the classroom stayed empty, covered in dust. Every morning, Madam Uju would glance at it and sigh. Something in her heart told that the child might never come back. At home, Ochanya's condition worsened. Her small body trembled constantly, and she often woke at night, crying from pain. "Mama Felicia, please take me home to my mother," she begged. Her aunt eased. "You will get well here. Stop talking nonsense." But deep down, Mama Felicia was scared. She knew if the truth came out, the entire town would curse her name. In the early morning, Mama Felicia found her lying cold on the mat. For the first time, she felt real fear. "Ochanya," she shouted, shaking her. "Get up! Don't do this to me. But the little girl's eyes opened weakly. When the neighbors came, they found Mama Felicia crying loudly, pretending she didn't know what had happened. "It's malaria, oh, it's malaria," she said between sobs. "Mama Ebere," a neighbor spoke innocently, "you should take her back home to her mother in the village. She might be homesick too." So it happened. Ochanya traveled back to the village with Mama Felicia. Mama Felicia didn't spend the night at Ochanya's village. The guilt was too much for her to bear. She traveled back that same day. That night, the moon hid behind dark clouds, as if even heaven couldn't bear to watch what was happening inside Mama Ochanya's house. Little Ochanya lay awake, trembling. Her small mouth felt like thorns. Every sound made her heart race. Ochanya wanted to believe that God had seen everything, but as she looked towards the small clay cross on the wall, she felt nothing at all. Days turned into weeks. Ochanya became quieter. Her laughter had died. Her eyes lost their light. The villagers noticed but said little. "She's just sick," they said. "Children fall ill." But one evening, when Mama Ochanya returned from the farm, she found blood on Ochanya's wrapper. Her scream pierced the compound. "What happened to you, my child?" Ochanya whispered weakly amidst tears. "Uncle Ogene, Mama Felicia knows too." Mama Ochanya's world crumbled. She ran to the street, shouting, "God, why? Why did you let this happen?" The villagers gathered. Some whispered, some turned away. Others told her to stay quiet. "Don't bring shame to the family," they said. But Mama Ochanya knew this was no longer a secret that silence could bury. The storm had begun. Morning broke with a strange silence. She stormed into the village square, her wrapper tied tightly around her chest, her eyes red with grief. "Help me, oh!" she shouted. "My child has been defiled under my roof." Villagers came out slowly. Whispers filled the air. Some gasped, others frowned, and a few turned away, shaking their heads. "Who did this to her?" Old Papa Agbo asked. Mama Ochanya said, "Ogbene, the man I trusted like my own blood. He and his wife have ruined my child." The crowd murmured in disbelief. Some women clutched their chests. Men exchanged uneasy glances. An elder spat on the ground. "If your child is sick, take her to a healer. Do not spread evil against your kinsman. Children can lie now. Maybe she was dreaming." Others nodded in sympathy. "Let's not destroy a man's name because of a child's words." But the elders turned away, unwilling to interfere. The chief messenger stepped forward, whispering that the matter must not be taken to the shrine or the police. "It will bring shame upon the clan," he said. That night, as Mama Ochanya sat beside her child, the same question burned in her mind. If truth cannot find a voice among the living, who will speak for the broken? The next morning, the harmattan wind blew cold and dry. Mama Ochanya began walking towards the next town. She didn't tell anyone. She knew the village has chosen silence. And silence was another kind of death. Ochanya leaned weakly on her shoulder. "Mama," she whispered, "will they believe us?" Mama Ochanya's heart squeezed. "They will, my child. Even if no one believes, God will." The journey was long. By the time they reached the town center, the sun was hot and fierce. Mama Ochanya went straight to the police station, a small faded building with peeling paint and a crooked flag. The officer at the desk looked up lazily. "What's your complaint, madam?" "My child has been defiled by my brother in the town. His wife is aware," she said, her voice shaking. The officer frowned. "Where is the man now?" "Here in this town," she answered. He said, these are family matters oh. Are you sure you want to bring trouble upon yourself? Think well, madam. Mama Ochanya slammed her hand on the table. My child is dying and you talk about trouble? Her voice startled everyone in the room. A young female officer standing nearby walked closer and touched Ochanya's forehead. This child needs help immediately, she said softly. Let me take her to the clinic. At the clinic, the nurse looked at Ochanya with pity. After examining her, she whispered to Mama Ochanya, she's badly hurt. This has been happening for a long time. Tears streamed down Mama Ochanya's face. I trusted them. I trusted my own blood. Word spread quickly in the town, but as night fell, Mama Ochanya sat by her bed, praying silently. Suddenly, the door creaked open. A stranger stepped in, his face hidden under a cap. You should go home. The men in your village are angry. They say you brought disgrace. They may come for you tonight. Mama Ochanya's heart pounded. She looked at her sleeping child and whispered, then let them come. I will not hide from the truth. The news spread fast. Mama Ochanya carried her shame to the police. By morning, the villagers gathered in groups, whispering and pointing fingers. Some said she was cursed. Others said the child was possessed. But Mama Ochanya didn't care anymore. She had tasted betrayal and it had hardened her heart. When she returned from the clinic with Ochanya, the compound was quiet. Too quiet. A boy ran to her breathless. Auntie, they left before dawn. They said spirits are chasing them. That evening, across the fence, voices shouted from outside. Shameless woman, stop disgracing your family. Go and hide your face. Mama Ochanya held her daughter tightly. Fear filled her heart, but she refused to cry. They can shout, she whispered, but they can't silence the truth. It was 3 days later when a knock echoed on her door. The same young woman from the clinic. Mama, I have news, she said softly. We found your brother. He denied everything, but the medical report speaks the truth. We need your testimony. Mama Ochanya nodded. I will speak. But at night, a different knock came. When she opened the door, she saw a note pinned to the wooden post. It read, go ahead and speak, and you will bury your child before sunrise. Her hand trembled. She tore the note apart, but its word burned in her mind. At dawn, Mama Ochanya rushed Ochanya to the hospital again. The doctor's face was grave. Her body is weak, he said gently. She is fighting hard, but her heart is tired. Mama Ochanya sat beside her. Ochanya smiled faintly. Mama, will the sky be blue where I'm going? Mama Ochanya's chest tightened. Yes, my child, the sky will be beautiful there. Then don't cry, Mama. When you look at the morning sun, I will be smiling back. Her eyes closed peacefully. Mama Ochanya's skin filled the word. No, Ochanya, no, my only child. The nurses came running, but it was too late. The sun had risen, and with it, a soul had left the earth. The village elders gathered again, not to mourn, but to argue. She has brought shame upon us, one said. She should have kept quiet, another added. Mama Ochanya stood before them, her eyes red but fearless. You say I brought shame, then what did the one who destroyed my child bring? No one answered. The chief cleared his throat. Let the matter end here. The dead should rest. Mama Ochanya spat to the ground. Rest? When evil walks free? That day, they buried Ochanya under the mango tree behind her house. She marked the grave with a small wooden cross. But even as she prayed, she heard laughter in the distance. Her brother had returned, boasting that the police had released him. Her fist clenched. "The world may fail me," she whispered, "but the spirit won't." That night, thunder rolled across the sky. The air was thick and strange. Villagers said they saw a light glowing from the mango tree. Days turned into weeks. The wind no longer carried laughter in Mama Ochanya's compound, only silence and the rustle of leaves. Sometimes she dreamt of her walking through golden fields, smiling without pain. Mama Ochanya turned back to the small grave and whispered, "Sleep well, my child. Your tears will become thunder. Your pain will become justice." Then she looked toward the sky and asked the question that still hangs in the heart of all who hear her story. If the innocent must die for the truth to live, then what kind of world are we living in? This story idea was inspired by the sorrowful ordeal of Ochanya before her demise. Justice for Ochanya. Say a word of comfort and prayer for the family in the comment section.